Hi, folks. Welcome back to Never on the Back Foot. And India and England gear up for what promises to be a blockbuster five-match test series starting June 20th at Headingley. Our panel featuring Naman and Hariprasad will, dive into what makes this edition different. We are very excited. Also, this is going to be an experiment of sorts for Never on the Back Foot, where we're going to have recurring guests on our YouTube to, dissect the entire series. So, rest assured, this panel will be there for the entirety of the India versus England series. Obviously, this series promises a lot of things for us. India sees a new test captain, a lot of big names missing on both sides. But more importantly, this is the start of a new and a fresh World Test Championship cycle for both sides. So there's obviously a lot at stake. Both teams would want to, get off to that sort of a good start. So hi, Naman. Hi, Hari Prasad. Really happy to have you both here. And let me probably start off with Naman on this one. That India and England have obviously played some very dramatic and iconic Test series. I'm sure like most of your Instagram is just flooded with reels and experts giving their hot takes on what's working, what's not working. But what do you think actually sets up this 2025 series from the rest? And can we expect some sort of fireworks?
Absolutely, Neha. I mean, this is the way you've given a great opening that in the recent past, the way this few series have gone on, the blockbuster 60 overs of hell that we witnessed 4 years back. I mean, those were the glory days of Indian Test cricket in the 21st century. And of course, as recent as the previous time when England toured us, and they started off with that crazy victory with Ollie Pope getting all those runs, and the way the series went on, the tide turned, and the way we ended up winning it. So it has been pretty competitive to an extent. Of course, I mean, when they visit us, there are certain twinks in their armory that we always find a way through. And when we go there, obviously there are certain things where our batters are susceptible, so they end up having their way. But honestly, at this point, the way the series is set, I mean, if we can just be just from a bird's eye perspective itself, we see that our batting lineup is completely changed. Their bowling lineup is completely changed. While we are like probably something to be discussed in detail later, while we are without our legends with the bat in hand, they are probably without their legends with the ball in hand. So that really sets things up in a nice manner. And given the entire context, like both the teams failing to qualify for the WTC final last time around, and the way they've been performing at home has been amazing, but the way they've been performing away is completely different. And the fact that this is a precursor to the Ashes later on this year, that makes things even more interesting for the England side. So yeah, it's super packed, and obviously a five-match test series or how many ever match test series is always a sight to look forward to. So as excited as we all can be all the time.
Absolutely, Naman. I'm glad you mentioned that this is a five-match test series because just today I was reading the newspaper. The ICC has been mulling, keeping four-match test series. Even when you just see the World Test Championship cycle at large, they're planning to, just keep it like two-match series or three-match series. So it's nice to see red ball cricket finally return to our screens and see like a five-match test series. But before we start talking more about the cricket itself, I mean, Hari Prasad, I'm sure when you've been coming across reports, right? Not even reports, actually, at this point, news that they're planning to rename the trophy itself. It was supposed to be the Pataudi Trophy, but now it's like Anderson Tendulkar Trophy, right? So, somewhere, what have you made of this entire discourse? A lot of people seem to be unhappy that the name Pataudi will be removed from this. But do you think the name part just doesn't have any significance, or do you think it's a step in the right direction as we move ahead?
I think Sachin recently made a request to BCCI and ECB to probably keep the name Pataudi, despite the series name being named as Tendulkar Anderson. And I think they have the man of the series, something like that, named after Pataudi, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I think the name is pretty relevant because Pataudi has he's done good. I mean, he's he's been a fine captain for India as well, and I think he has some of the other performances in England as well. I think he's got that connection, and so I would say it is completely relevant. But obviously, not counting out the greats in Tendulkar and Anderson, because they've, I mean, Anderson being their highest wicket taker, Tendulkar being the highest run scorer for India. I mean, it was a battle of sorts. So I think they just wanted to move on from the name Pataudi and probably make it more relevant to the recent times. But again, having said that, cannot count out the legacy of Pataudi, and I'm glad that both the both Tendulkar, Anderson, and Patodi is being relevant to this series, because it's a good thing for the old timers as well, and for the recent timers too.
Yeah, somewhere I think that they kind of struck a middle ground, and hopefully, the name part of it just doesn't end up causing more controversy or unrest amongst fans itself. Ujjwal goes on to say hello, mates, to us in chat. And he also goes on to add that it's an year of breaking curses. So definitely India will win the series. So very bold prediction. One, I'm very excited to ask our panel as well, because sometimes the predictions just work out so beautifully that it causes a lot of happiness to me. So I will definitely keep the predictions part for the end. Akshat also goes on to say that this is a new era, new team. May India win this series. Akshat, आपके मुंह में घी शक्कर. We really hope India does end up winning the series, and we get to see a very competitive brand of cricket being played as well. But again, just coming back to this aspect, that when we look at this series, it is obviously the start of a new World Test Championship cycle as well. Both teams fell short, right, in the past edition. So, Naman, again, just coming back to you, like, how crucial is a strong start here? I mean, for both sides that are obviously dealing with their own set of issues, but both would want to get off on the right note, no?
Absolutely. And like since you brought out the point of having a stronger start, I believe it is all the way more necessary for England to start off on a great note comparatively if you look at with India, because outside this, India have pretty, let's say, not that difficult of a home leg in front of them. I believe New Zealand is coming to Taurus, Australia is coming to Taurus, and apart from that, on our overseas assignments, we are here in England and we are going to New Zealand. So New Zealand is the only other thing that we would be really worried about when it comes to the overseas series. And over here in England, if we have a good stretch, then even if we manage to draw the series, that would be a pretty good result, since the remaining part is not that difficult. Looking at the entire WTC cycle in perspective, but of course, no, the Indian team would not be thinking of it in that sense. Neither would us as fans thinking of it in that sense. That okay, let's put one or two tests and then we have home tests lined up ahead, because we know what happened the last time we said that. It's the memories are pretty recent, so let's not let's not be that overconfident about it. But of course, having said that, it's very important for England to start off on a good note, because if they do not do it here, their next assignment 6 months later would be the Ashes, and you want to head into the Ashes high in confidence. You don't want to head into with doubts around in your mind around your batting order, around what's your bowling combination going to be. You really want to go there with a lot of confidence, with your head held high. We saw what happened to the Indian side when they were touring Australia the last time around, when they did not go after a strong home season. Even though we started off on a winning note, the way things went on were really disastrous in that sense. So it's important for both the teams to start off on a great note, keeping the WTC cycle in perspective. But of course, the pressure, I would say, is probably more on England, because of course it is their home series. They are without their key bowlers who have been the architects of all their victories, and of course for India as well at the same time, like we've already discussed, the the men who were responsible to win the previous few tests that we did over there are probably no longer around. So it's really going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough ask. And let's just put this in perspective, right? I mean, for India, the series is going to be a lot about redemption, right? Heavy losses to New Zealand, the BGT loss against Australia as well. It really stings us, Indian Test cricket fans, so to say. So, Hariprasad, I'll probably direct this one to you. Like, do you think this is probably going to be a phase of rebuilding, a lot of transition? As much as I remember Shubman Gill in his interview, not kind of acknowledging the transition part, he was like, yeah, we're heading to a transition, but man, you're already in transition. You're the new captain. But how do you look at this for India, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be a transition series. Not sure why Gill did not acknowledge this, but I think he himself is coming in as a captain after being dropped for a few games in the Border Gavaskar Trophy, and more to do. And with respect to the losses, more than the losses itself, I think it's the way we lost, despite having a good run in at home, losing, being whitewashed by New Zealand, whose spinners are like not I mean, New Zealand is known to be a place where pacers thrive more than the spinners, but then we saw their, I think, third choice spinner in Santner bowling us out on several occasions. So I mean, it was a little heartbreaking. And then come to the Border Gavaskar Trophy, I think Shami missing out was a huge problem. I mean, we didn't really like get a proper replacement for him, and concentrated a lot on batting depth instead of getting our best lineup out there. I think that also costed us a lot. So more than the losses itself, I think it's the way we lost that hurts a lot more. And I really hope that this is rectified in the upcoming series in England, because we cannot it's the start of a new cycle in the World Test Championship, and having missed out on the final in the previous occasion, we can't afford to have any slip ups over here. So starting off strong is something that India should look forward to.
Definitely, and I think no better series than this to probably just get the ball rolling and just see how this new era kind of transitions. Because another big takeaway from that Gill conversation with Dinesh Karthik on Sky Sports for the uninitiated was how he mentioned the average age of the squad is probably what 25 to 27. So it's a very young looking side without stalwarts in their presence. We will talk about that a little later. But let's take a comment from Lakshmi Narayanan S, who goes on to say it's going to be a challenging series for both teams. Bet Gill is going to have a great series as a batter as well as the captain, which is a very optimistic way of looking at it because his numbers overseas haven't given us Indian fans a lot of reasons to celebrate. But hopefully he can probably prove us wrong and get those numbers right. But let's also briefly look at England, right? Their Bazball brand of cricket, as much as it has been celebrated, criticized, questioned, has produced exciting cricket. And there have been some interesting series wins as well. But they haven't reached a World Test Championship final so far. And interestingly, all of those finals have happened at home for them without the hosts themselves. So now is that concern going into this cycle, the baggage of the past of not having made it to the final, and yet they continue to defend this baseball philosophy? So somewhere is there a ticking time bomb on this philosophy?
I believe there are two perspectives to this. One is, of course, the Bazball perspective that, okay, uh, zero damn given, no damn given to the way things are. We'll play the way we play. And that's the brand of cricket that we are in. You live by the sword, you die by it. And hence, they wouldn't be carrying any baggage from that perspective. But of course, there's the other perspective of being England. The members gallery that's there at Lords. Those are the folks who would not appreciate this kind of a mindset. Those are the folks who are really gonna give you some folks if you're gonna smash the first ball for a six and get out. So that's there are obviously both the perspectives to look into it. Now it all comes down to the way the leadership takes things ahead, the way they back their players, which they have been for the past 2 years. I mean, 3 years now. I believe the Bazball era started back in 22, and the very first time we experienced that firsthand was in the postponed fifth test that we ended up losing in 2022. So, and since then they've really not looked back. They've followed the same brand of cricket through different conditions, varying conditions, and it has worked at times. It hasn't worked at times. So as far as baggage is considered of probably not being qualified, probably not having qualified for any of the WTC finals, it would be something they would look ahead at. But I really don't think the kind of mindset they carried is something that should be bogging them down mentally, at least as far as they always present themselves in the media, the way they have always come out in public and said that we just focus on the ball that's coming next and not the one that we played before. We focus on the ball that we are playing next and not the one that got us out before. So if that kind of mindset is there, I don't feel it's very likely that they would be carrying that sort of a baggage. But of course, the expectations, the fans, there's an extent to which they can see this kind of approach being followed without getting the required results. But the way the stature that Ben Stokes carries, the stature that Brendan McCullum himself brings to the table, they are pretty big figures in themselves. Now it's only about the patience. Like, how long does the ECB have patience in this method? How long does the ECB have patience with not getting the desired results in that perspective? And one major thing that we witnessed over here was the way this baseball approach was impacting Joe Root's own game. I mean, you don't take him for a slogger, right? You do not take him to be somebody who would just play random shots across whatever deliveries. He really mastered that scoop. But we also saw what happened when you play it in the wrong situation. Of course, he'll probably hit it out 8 times out of 10. But if those 2 times happen in a wrong game situation where it was probably not the shot to be played in the context of the game against the bowler at a particular delivery, then of course we know how the English media can get. Hari can highlight more about that. So they have to be a bit more balanced in their approach, I would say, and of course they will do what they want to do at the end of the day.
I mean, Bazball has definitely caused that sort of a reaction from fans. I mean, of excitement, of curiosity. But probably if it just doesn't work this cycle as well, they're going to need to have a proper introspection of, where do they want to, sort of go ahead with that. But let's again, take our conversation and just focus now on India at large. Hari Prasad, again, I'll start off with you on this one. Like, how pleased were you with India's selection for the series? It was again pretty much on predictable lines. We did see a separate squad getting selected for the A tour side of things. But at last, were you convinced with the selections, considering we had all of those retirements and everything?
More or less pretty convinced, but there were a few surprises that I felt. I think one would be the exclusion of Sarfraz Khan. I mean, I know he's been termed as a home track bully or some sorts, but then I think he did make it to the Border Gavaskar Trophy squad. I mean, at least he was there in the squad, if not for the playing 11. But seeing him miss out did not really make sense to me because he hasn't really like given any away performances, and removing him from the squad did make sense at all. I mean, he's young as well, and I think you've seen his recent fitness update. He's gotten way fitter than he used to be before, and taking that into consideration, I think the exclusion of Sarfraz Khan is something that I was surprised about. And slightly unpopular opinion, I think Harshit Rana missing out also was a surprise. I know he's not had the best of series back in Australia, but it just says that you're discarding a young talent right after one series, and that does not give a lot of confidence when you're a young player trying to get into the side. I know I know his inclusion in the squad was pretty controversial, having played very few first class games, and the KKR connect, as people call it. And despite that, it's just surprising that he was discarded after the Border Gavaskar Trophy, and just after one series. That's what I mean to say. So I think he stayed back with the squad at the moment at Leeds. So that it was nice to see that. But initially, when the squad came out, seeing Harshit Rana missing out was a pleasant shock for me. But having said that, happy to see Karun Nair back in the squad. I think he is finally getting the rewards for his domestic season onslaught. So seeing Karuna back is surely a good thing. And Naman and I keep talking about how Arshdeep Singh in England is is going to be vital. I mean, despite he's got that county experience with Kent, and apart from that, I think he's a left armer that also gives a lot of variety to the pace attack. So having him in the squad is another good thing. Good call by Naman. And I mean, obviously happy to see Sai Sudarshan as well. He also had the county stints, a couple of county stints before this, and seeing him in the squad, I think I would probably have him in the playing 11 right away if feasible. So, I mean, all in all, a really good squad with a few surprises here and there.
Fair enough. And Naman, again, let's get your thoughts on India's squad selection. And you can probably also talk about how this is going to be the dawn of a new era in Indian Test cricket at large. We have a new captain in Shubman Gill. The middle order is going to see a massive reshuffle as well. We're going to be missing the likes of Ashwin. So, how well equipped do you think someone like Shubman Gill is to take over such a massive responsibility? And the team at large, the composition is going to look very different, right?
Undoubtedly, specifically for Gill, I believe it's going to be a baptism by fire for him. Being thrown the captaincy at such a juncture, the entire batting lineup is now changed. I mean, the folks that are there in the top five, top six, they were not in the playing 11 2 years back. Like Pant had just had his accident. KL Rahul was somewhere in his test career. All the other folks have just come into the picture. It has completely changed, and the onus would lie on Shubman Gill big time to anchor the middle order whether we are in a score of 10 for 3 or we're in a score for 200 for 3 or whatever. It's going to be big time on him to first deliver as a batter. I believe when he walks out to bat, it's a cliche, it's easier said than done. When you walk out to bat, walk out like a batter, forget all the captaincy, and then when you're back on the field as the captain, put on that hat and move your bowlers around. Obviously easier said than done. It's going to take him a lot of time to probably get adjusted to that, to make sure that while batting he's focusing on that and not about how much the lead is, how much does he have to get, when should he declare. Those things will follow suit later. He has a think tank with him. He has experienced folks giving him the required inputs, people like Jasprit Bumrah, who, as he recently mentioned, he was probably in consideration for the captaincy, but given his fitness it was probably making more sense for him to play just as a leader within the group than having the leadership position of the captain itself. So the first thing for him should be to deliver as a batter. And obviously, once you do well with the bat, once your own game is going on, things click. Your primary responsibility is to score runs. That goes well. Things click. You are in the right set of mind. While fielding, you're not bothering about what the next ball you're going to face. You're not bothering about whether the ball you're facing is coming in or out. If you are probably standing at slips, you should not be thinking how would you be facing the ball when you are there with the bat in hand. Your focus should be on the edge coming off towards you at 140 clicks an hour. So those things are paramount. And apart from that, the entire unit, of course, it is going to be one key player, I believe, for us is going to be Ravindra Jadeja, because he is now the most experienced player in terms of the number of test matches played. He is going to be the guy to do the holding job when it comes to our bowling, provided that he plays all the matches, which I believe he should, because he fits in as a pure bowler, pure batter, both. So it's going to be very crucial. He's going to be crucial when it comes to handling collapses and when the opposition is going hell for leather and you have to sneak in a quite few overs. And of course, let's not forget the over rate in the picture. In England, you need your over rate to be correct, otherwise you end up losing out on points, and then of course your WTC ratings go down as well. So that's why I believe Jaddu is going to play a very critical role over there, especially in the absence of a person like Ashwin, who though hasn't played a lot in the English conditions, but even then, the absence of an Ashwin really makes a huge difference in the squad in the dressing room in itself. And then, of course, coming to the batters, like we say, KL Rahul. I mean, his career we've seen how it's like he's been the. If you're a Rahul from Karnataka, you need to be prepared to do anything and everything, and that's how his entire career has been so far. But honestly, I really hope they now stick to one given position to him. Even back in the BGT when they moved him down to number 3, I really disliked that move. The consistency should have been maintained with regard to that. If you again ask him to open and he has delivered and he's probably the guy who really fits that role better than anybody at this point, let him play that. If he's willing to do it, let him be there. There are other folks who can fit in, and the selection of Karun Nair is probably a testament to the fact that they are looking at Karun at the middle order and KL at the opening. And then, of course, comes Rishabh Pant. I mean, I don't know what has gone on with him in the IPL. I don't know what kind of mindset he's coming in. But those cartwheels at the end of their last game really showed that he's probably in the right mental state at this point of time. So expect to see Rishabh Pant things from Rishabh Pant. And if those things click, obviously with the other folks giving a supporting role in the batting, not as a supporting role. You mean at the end of the 5 test series, you might see somebody probably like a Sai Sudarshan or a Karuna scoring 600, 800 runs, and you will be looking back and saying, oh, wow, we didn't see it coming. So everything has to really go well. It's under pressure. The unit is under pressure, especially the batting unit, because the moment you lose 2-3 quick wickets, there will be uh, blood pumping high in the veins of the people in the dressing room. You will really feel the heat there if you lose 2-3 quick wickets. And that's where the composure is going to take us home. With regards to the bowling, I believe we still have people who have been architects of our good performances back there in the past. We still have a Jasprit Bumrah, we have a Mohammad Siraj, we have Prasid who's been around the team for a pretty long time. And like Hari also mentioned, people like Arshdeep who have been on county tours. And let's not forget Lord Shardul Thakur. So you have that experience in the bowling lineup. It's the batting that can really be put under pressure and really has to deliver through like any sort of situation that we might face over there.
I mean, amazing answer there, Naman. I think it just opens a can of worms with a lot of talking points. And our live chat too has been very chatty. So let's probably get a few comments and our panel's thoughts on it too. Ujjwal actually posted this a while back. He just goes on to add that just saw Vian Mulder in that final, and it kind of becomes a split in whether Reddy or Shardul should play. Reddy can keep it stumps to stump and a better batter, but Shardul is that sort of a wicket taking option. I think it would be an absolute disservice if I don't direct this question to Hariprasad, who's our in-house Shardul Thakur lover, uses his stickers all the time. So with his absolute objectivity, let's get his thoughts on this one and who he will eventually pick in the playing 11.
I think if either of NKR or Shardul could deliver that first spell that Vian Mulder did in the World Test Championship final, I would have them. I mean, like Ujjwal mentioned, Reddy is a better batter, but Shardul is a wicket taking option over there. And I think I would probably have Shardul ahead of NKR if that debate is to be done, because I think you need to, even though this think tank basically concentrates on improving your batting depth, I think you need to have a better bowler in a place like England, because like how Bazball is all about picking those wickets when it comes to playing aggressive cricket. I think India should be employing that tactic as well, trying to. I mean, it's always a good thing to be picking up 20 wickets in a test match, and I think you need to have your best bowlers out there to probably pick those wickets. And I think Shardul is a better bowler than NKR, not only just because he's been bowling a lot more, and we barely saw NKR bowl in the IPL as well. So that basically means I would pick Shardul ahead of NKR if it comes to that. But having said that, I think uh, Shardul would be my pick, basically ahead of NKR. Yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And some really valid points coming in there. We will discuss more at length about this. But Ujjwal also says that it can be a massive coming of age series for both Gill and Brook. Both are of same age. Kane has picked them in the next Fab Four, but both are really yet to show their class in a big series. Now, let's get your thoughts on this, because whenever the discussion of Fab Four comes in, I think a lot of Virat Kohli fans, just go in denial. They're like, no, this is the only Fab Four. And others get just very protective and selective about who they want in this Fab Four club. But Shubman Gill and Harry Brook giving us enough reasons to be included in this new Fab Four. And how do you just see this shape up?
Well, I believe I can probably answer regarding Gill and Brook as players. Regarding the entire Fab Four debate, I'll hand it over to Hariprasad to mention his opinions on the same, because he's quite emotional about that. So, of course, like when you look at Gill, he has been a master of ODIs already. He has been amazing in that format, very consistent, and he really gives you the vibe that he's made for this particular format. In recent times, we've seen his T20 game also really pick up in this IPL. In the like one series before the 2023 IPL, he showed his glimpses as a T20 batter as well. Probably not really in the first choice for the Indian side of things, but now talking about the test setup. I mean, things were going really well for him when he was opening. Although by then he had not played a lot of tours overseas except the Australia one. When it came to England, he was probably injured, and that's when first Mayank made a replacement, and then Kale ended up playing in that series. Most of his assignments overseas have probably been at number three, and which is a very tricky situation. And they all came in right after he made the switch to that particular role. So now is really, first of all, a time to decide what's his slot gonna be. If we look back when he had made his debut, we all thought that okay, maybe he's opening for now, but eventually we really see him settling down at number four. Back then itself, I had this left field thought in my mind that okay, probably he can be a number three for India, not like the number three of the likes of the Dravids and the Pujaras that we've had, but a number three like a Ponting was for Australia. That's how I saw him probably batting at number three for us in the future. It's been tried. It's given mixed results. Let's be honest. At times he's looked good. At times he's looked completely out of sorts. His weakness against the incoming delivery on a fuller length or a back of a length has really troubled him a lot when he's batting at that position. So probably, the first question that comes over here is, where does he want to bat? Where does the management want him to bat? Whether it is at three, whether it is at four. So that really sets up the mindset with which you are going to play. And obviously, being the captain, being the best batter in Test cricket, it is traditionally been said that the best batter bats at four. Kane Williamson has really defied that logic. He prefers to bat at number three, and he's shown pretty good results over there as well. For the longest time, we called him a flat track bully, a home deck bully for that. But over the years he's shown that okay, even on some overseas assignments he's done well at number three too. So that would be the very first thing, and it really becomes crucial if we are talking about any sort of a batting club for the generation. I won't use that particular title. Yeah, I won't use that. Then this is probably the best opportunity that he's going to get to announce himself as the very first candidate to stake a claim in that particular club. And now coming to Harry Brook, for that regard, I mean, he's got the potential, he's got the class, he's got the skills. But in the recent times, the kind of comments that he's made, regarding a lot of smog being there in Delhi and not being able to see the ball because of those, I mean, those are very, very silly reasons, very, very silly excuses, to be very honest. So first of all, like probably as he ages, he'll mature regarding that, and not to bring such random things out in terms of probably not playing well. So that is one thing about the mindset, because if some things are coming out, probably your mind is not at the very right place. You're probably not watching the ball that you're supposed to. You're thinking about some random things. You're probably thinking about pulling out a broom and doing some 15 minutes of sweeping madness over there. So that mindset has to be correct with Harry Brook. He has got the runs, but he's yet to get the runs against oppositions, against bowling attacks in conditions to gain that sort of a respect. So he's yet to gain the respect of an opposition, in my opinion, as a batter. He's flamboyant, but yeah, I think if he goes on to have a 500, 600 run series, is when he'll be able to gain that respect at the global stage. That yeah, Harry Brook here is somebody for the longer generation, and it's probably a generational batter that deserves to be in some sort of club. And with that, Hari, you can probably share your thoughts on the title for clubs.
I mean, Fab Four. I think a lot of people know the fact that Martin Crowe made this uh, early comment about the Fab Four, the original Fab Four that has been basically consisting of Steve Smith, Kane Williamson, Virat Kohli, and Joe Root. And he made an early comment about that even before they were established test batters. So I think that has to be respected because it was a long term vision at the end of the day. And I don't think there should be another Fab Four or anything of that sort. Sorry to those who think so, but I believe the Fab Four started with them and should end with the original Fab Four that have been named.
Yeah, guys, makes sense. I mean, for the longest time, I've been a fan of this Fab Four. So to have someone else being included in this club, I don't know, just takes the essence out of the entire initiative itself. But oh yeah, Naman has something to
Just
add.
one thing to add on. I mean, sorry to a certain set of viewers. I mean, a few years before, we were even talking about a Fab Five with Babar Azam in it. And we know how well that has aged. No disrespect to Babar, he's a good cricketer, but just talking about the mindset of people are fickle minded, they can get when this, if in a certain year in certain conditions against certain oppositions, if a player is doing that well, you end up heaping praises about that person and then forget about the other guy who's been around. I mean, if you recently see Abhishek Sharma hitting those hundreds, Tilak Verma hitting those hundreds, you would have forgotten Yashasvi Jaiswal is our first choice opener in T20 cricket. So those sort of fickle-mindedness is something that is existing all across cricket fans, and it's natural. But it's just that when it comes to Test cricket, probably we should wait for a while to see what that particular player is made
Give
of.
it a few years and we'll see Suryavanshi making the others forgotten.
I mean, definitely interesting times, as fans that we see. But anyways, let's keep the Fab Four, aside. Ujjwal also brings in this comment that the temperature predictions say that it will be a hot and humid summer. Could be a case of big runs on the cards. I mean, a lovely prediction. I'm not sure about the conditions. I mean, we've seen how the England summer can prove to be that way. So let's see how that plays out. Okay, Hariprasad says no. Talking from his experience of playing on cricket, there's this comment that I did want to take. I think Naman briefly spoke about Sai Sudarshan. So I'll get Hari Prasad's thoughts on this, that Sai Sudarshan's selection reminds, Ujjwal of Virat's selection in 2011. He was not necessarily coming off with massive runs in domestic, but impressive stuff in the IPL and the kind of future that we've witnessed, right? So yeah, Hari Prasad, I'll leave this open to you. Like, what have you made of Sai Sudarshan, the kind of technique he comes in with, and does he immediately slot into your Indian playing 11?
Like I mentioned, yes, he does actually. I think he should be there in the playing 11 right away. Completely agree with Ujjwal. It kind of resonates with Virat's selection in 2011, where he's played like a handful of first class games and then being roped into the test squad right away. I think it does resonate with that selection. And Sudarshan has had a couple of county stints as well previously, and I think he made it big as well, if I'm not wrong. So he's got the experience of playing in England in English conditions. So he's not entirely new to this to these grounds. So I think he would be eased in a little more having played county cricket. So I think the IPL probably would have contributed as well. I think he scored big, being named the orange cap holder as well, emerging player as well. I think he's high on confidence right now, and I think he would bring in this confidence into the test playing 11 as well. And yeah, for me, I think he starts right away. Come the first test at Leeds. So really excited to see how Sai Sudarshan goes about his playing. Yeah.
That's an interesting one there, Hariprasad. And I'll take this over to Naman. Let's just talk about the Indian batting at large, because at least conjecture suggests that KL Rahul is expected to open with Jaiswal, which probably pushes Gill to number 4. Sai Sudarshan probably is that number 3. There's Karun Nair, there's Rishabh Pant. Like, the middle order does look very crowded. We have a lot of options. But just taking into consideration this English conditions and this very important series, how do you see this batting lineup sort of play out?
Um, so if we just look a bit back to the A games that we recently had over here, we know that Sai Sudarshan was done with the IPL within the eliminator itself. He did not have to play the last 2 games. Despite that, he didn't travel to England ASAP. He didn't travel to play either of the 2 A games. First one he probably couldn't have played because of the timeline clashing. The second one he could have definitely played. Instead, we saw him being there in India till the final itself, collecting all those awards for himself and on behalf of the other players as well. It's quite funny, to be honest, because he should have been there in England by then. So the fact that it did not happen, the fact that he did not play a single game over there, and adding to that, the fact that Karun Nair ended up batting at number 3 across the 2 games and he did pretty well. He scored all those runs that he did over there. Probably gives an indication that maybe the think tank is looking at him at number 3. I mean, it's just reading what we've seen so far. If that is the case, and of course, the pairing in nets that we often see, the way batters face the bowlers in the nets, there it has been witnessed that probably Jaiswal and KL are batting next to each other. Then after that, it's Karun and Gill who are joining them. Then after that, it's probably Pant and Jurel or Pant and Reddy, they are joining ahead next. So probably that gives a slight indication of how they are looking at things to go, because if they were really looking at Sai Sudarshan making his debut, there is no reason, no way they wouldn't have sent him to play in one of those games. So maybe at this point, they are probably looking at Karun Nair batting at number 3, and then that's obviously given if Gill wants to bat at 4, but that probably seems the likely scenario. Then probably Gill comes in at 4. Then you can have Pant batting at number 5, and the number 6 becomes a debate. Now over there, you can probably choose between your Dhruv Jurel and Nitish Kumar Reddy. It's it's a big punt. You have to take that punt on one across these 3 batters: Sai Sudarshan, Dhruv Jurel, Nitish Reddy. One out of these 3 is gonna play in a role probably at number 3 or at number 6. So who is your best batter over there? Who is the best batter among the 3 for those conditions over there? That's the call that has to be taken. I would have really loved to see how Sai Sudarshan played in the A games. It's really unfortunate that we couldn't see that. It would have really given us a better picture on what kind of mindset he's coming through, and exactly how Lakshmi Narayan has pointed out over here. It's the way he scored believe has made the way he scored his runs has made everyone believe. And I remember having these discussions 2 years earlier itself, when we had really seen him burst onto the scene, and not just IPL. Remember that one Vijay Hazare season where Jagadisan was scoring tons of runs, hundreds after hundreds. Who was his opening partner? It was Sai Sudarshan. He was also scoring a good number of runs, and he's been doing that consistently in the domestic circuit. His first class average at this point might not speak for a person with a great class, but he has given pretty solid performances in first class. Even when even during the shadow tour to Australia ahead of the BGT, Sudarshan was a part of it, and he did pretty well over there. Back then itself, the selection of a Devdutt Padikkal probably happened because he had already made his debut against England, and that continuity is something they wanted to go for. So, it's quite uncertain for me, to be honest. But the way things look, it's unfortunate that he might not make his debut. I would love for to see him back over there at number three, and then data batting order really falls into place. Otherwise, you will have to have a Reddy or a Jurel batting at number six. They've done pretty well in the A series games as well. The last two games, they've scored 50s, they've scored very good fire runs. But we know what kind of bowling attack that was against. So those questions also come into the picture. Now it's probably going to be the Panda think tank is going to take. They can even consider moving a Jadeja to bat at number six, but he's done it in the past in England itself, and Rahane was having a torrid series in 2021. But that's not the best thing to do, to be honest. So yeah, that's how I see the batting order shaping up at large, and probably then the rest really follows. So if Kuldeep is playing, he can walk out at number 8 or 9. Shardul is playing, he can walk out at number 8. That way, it just falls into the picture. Mentioning Kuldeep because I really see him playing a few games on the tour, especially just like it was previously highlighted that it's going to be hot and humid conditions over there, and if you've got to counter Bazball, you've got to have those X factors in your team, not just one, but at least two of them. And along with Bumrah, and especially in the absence of Bumrah, I really believe that somebody like a Kuldeep can bring that to the picture, and he can really confuse those English batters. We saw what Chakravarti did to them in recent times. He's not playing tests, of course, but if you want somebody who can do the equivalent role, it's probably going to be Kuldeep for you.
Talking about Pant, batting at number 5 and keeping wickets is going to take a toll on his body. That I just want to see how he does that throughout the whole five games that we play, because it's not easy. I mean, unless you're Partha Patel, I don't see you keeping the whole 90 overs or even more and coming out to bat in the top 5. So it'll be really interesting to see how Pant basically does juggles both, because it might get too much to him and could cause an injury in the long run as well. Might do his back or something like that. So probably wouldn't mind having Jurel playing a game or two or something as a keeper, and Pant playing as a normal, like just as a batter in this or something like that. Or if I would probably drop Pant down to number 6 or 7 or something like that and probably play him, only because of the fact that he shouldn't become a long-term injury. He's already been away from the game for a year after that accident that he had. So taking all this into consideration, I'm sure he's fit. He's really fit at the moment, but taking all that into consideration, hoping for no long-term injury while he continues to bat at 5 and keep wickets for the whole 5 games that we are playing here. So I wouldn't mind having Jurel play a game or two if situation arises, just because of the long-term injury that could happen.
Yeah,
Just on
again,
a lighter note over here, Rivasa rightly mentioned about the workload. And I hope that if a situation comes like that where we are bowling in the fourth innings and probably Pant is not doing well with the gloves, I hope they do not give the gloves to KL Rahul over there. It will really look very, very funny over there. No offense to KL Rahul, but for some reason the moment you mentioned that, I could just foresee that probably they might burden Pant with a lot of workload, and then you will end up handing it
Like
over
you
to
mentioned, perks of being named Rahul.
from Karnataka.
Yeah.
but guys, we were just looking at the live chat. Although you guys have put in your preferences, Saravnan here brings in some really good points. He says, "Bro, if I'm Gambhir, Jurel is going to be ahead of Sai." Guys, everyone are sidelining because of the fact that he's a wicket keeper. Bro is scoring consistently in India A2s. Unfortunately, IPL is what decides. He also goes on to add that even Ishwaran is above Sai. BCCI always says play domestic, then they give Ishwaran chance above Sai. Let Ishwaran fall and learn, then let's give Sai a chance. It's hard for your mental health to be seated on the bench for 7 years. I'll probably start with Hariprasad on this one. That although we've looked at the other names, probably Abhimanyu Ishwaran has not been come up in conversation so far. Man has been toiling in the domestic circuit for the longest time. Brings us back to the age-old debate that hey, domestic performances just don't get spotlighted so much enough to warrant your place in the side. But the IPL just does an easier job. People like are so easy to jump onto the IPL train and just be happy with performances like that. Like Sai Sudarshan is right now the toast of the town, right? With the kind of performances he's put in. Where do you find yourself in this debate of IPL playing such an important role in selections for the Indian Test team?
Feel for the guy, unfortunately. I mean, like Saranan mentioned, sitting on the bench for 7 years, close to that. Him and Priyank Panchal both, who's recently announced his retirement, it can take a toll on you. I'm 100% sure. Only because of the fact that you do not play the IPL, it does get hard. I completely agree. And with selections of NKR and Harshit Rana, it does show that IPL does play a part, but that's only because they find some potential in them to probably perform in other formats as well. Harshit can bat. He's someone who can bat. He's got a first class 100 as well. NKR is an all round option that we've dearly been missing, while Australia continues to produce all rounders, like pace bowling all rounders. They had Cameron Green, they had Mitch Marsh, and now they've gotten Bo Webster as well. And despite that, India has tried various players. I mean, we had Hardik Pandya play a few test matches. Then Shardul Thakur, can consider him as an all-rounder after his exploits at the Oval. He showed that he can bat as well. And now we've gone with NKR as well, only because of the skill set that he possesses. So, I mean, I think with respect to NKR, it's that, and with respect to Harshit Rana, I think they just saw a spark in him or something like that. Like I mentioned in the previous live show with you as well, it's just an experiment that the think tank want to do with Harshit Rana, and that's why he's over here. But coming back to Ishwaran, I think he's not done justice to his name with the recently concluded A tour. I think he's not been in the best of forms as compared to the others. So unfortunately, it might go against him. Uh, Most probably, it would go against him with maybe a Sai or a Karun coming in the playing 11 ahead of him. Would love to see Ishwaran play as well, but things don't look really good with respect to that.
Just one
Yeah.
more thing to add on over here. Like rightly mentioned by Hari as well, that in this particular 8 over, he didn't really have the greatest return that was expected of him. Even last year, when ahead of the BGT as well, Ishwaran was there playing in the shadow games ahead of the Test series, and even there, his performances were not really very inspiring to probably warrant a side in the playing 11 for him. I've been we all of us collectively have been rooting for all these domestic players to get their chances in the national setup, and it really breaks our heart to see that even the likes of Panchali got a call up for the South Africa tour back in 21 or 22. Even there, he was just there in the side and couldn't make his debut. Ishwaran has been around touring for a couple of seasons. It's probably second or the third Test call up over here, and he's not really making a debut over here. Like he might. I mean, I'm not saying he's not making a debut here. He is probably not among the front runners for his debut over here. So, and on the other side, if you talk about the county, like Rishabh mentioned, that Karun Nayak got a call up to the Test squad for his domestic returns. We saw how out of the blue Jaydev Unadkat got a call up to the Test squad because of his results in the domestic circuit. So it is being rewarded to an extent, but of course that slight bias of the IPL comes into the picture, and that is probably goes on to what an extent are you scouting the talent. We probably get him in the squad, see him around for a while, and then basis how that particular player is doing within the unit without even getting a game, how they're doing in the practice sessions within the unit, probably take a call on whether they have to be groomed further or not being looked at as a long-term prospect. We've seen recently how players like Akashdeep and Mukesh Kumar have made their way to the Indian setup in Test cricket without really looking at how well they've done in IPL in the past. If we talk about another format in particular, ODIs, Prasidh Krishna made his ODI debut for India before he really did a lot good in the IPL. He had played a few games for KKR, but he was not really a big spark over there. He still made his way there because of his domestic exploits. Having said that, there are still guys like Vijay Kumar Vaishak, there's Vasuki Kaushik, who Kavarappa, who've been performing really well for Karnataka in the recent times in domestic, but probably have not had the spark or the selectors not to get some games for the India. Got to get a call up actually. They played some India A games. They played in the domestic zonal tournaments as well. Here again, like Ishwaran, coming back to Ishwaran again, great lad, scored tons of runs in the domestic circuit. Probably, it's just about not peaking at the right time. And one more thing that I believe probably gives these other guys an edge is performing in pressure situations. If you're playing in the IPL, you've been through those situations, you've played cricket of among the highest caliber. Probably when our domestic lads are going on these 8 hours, for some reason maybe they're not used to that kind of a pressure that they might need to uh, excel in such a game. You're getting used to these overseas conditions. I would love to see somebody like an Ishwaran really going on to play some county cricket. This time, it might not be possible since he's a part of our squad. But for all these folks, Arshdeep probably made the cut ahead of some other candidates because he went and played those county games. I would love to see more and more such of our players gaining as much experience as they can. Go and play county. Go and play the Royal London One Day Cup. Let's see what you're going to do. Pujara played that tournament. He was scoring at 100 strike rate. There are tons of opportunities, and if you're going to perform well in those conditions, people will take notice. They will hand over the necessary opportunities to you.
I think we've got Gaikwad as well making a county debut, if I'm not wrong. So hope to see a lot more players probably go the county side and play a few games. Karun Nair did that with Northamptonshire, even got a double hundred. I think that would also be another selection criteria as to why he's there in the England Test squad. And obviously, not to forget his India exploits in the recently concluded India series. So, about from that, I think the county stints would help these players and would make the selectors' job even more easier.
And just
Definitely,
one
yes,
last
Nalini.
point.
Hmm.
Sorry. Just one last point about this entire domestic versus IPL fiasco. While it exists, you cannot completely deny it. We've also seen somebody like Shreyas Iyer being overlooked. He has had great domestic returns over the past year and a half. He's done amazingly well in the IPL. If you were going to look at a hybrid model of both IPL performances and domestic performances, he would probably make it at the top of the list to get an India call up. But he was still not selected. Maybe because he doesn't have the necessary experience for those conditions. Maybe because he didn't play enough county games over there. Maybe because he doesn't have the technique to excel in those conditions. So, I mean, there are both sides to this coin. And of course, when you are in the selector's job, every decision you make, you're going to be criticized, you're going to be told, and that's how life is. It's very very easy for us armchair analysts to critique every decision they are making over there.
Exactly, now, and I think for us, armchair pundits, so to say, it's just easy to make comments, but a lot of thought process does go behind this selection. In fact, I think 52 minutes through the conversation, too, I don't think we've come to a consensus about what does India's batting order look like, and what is the ideal way to go. It's very dependent on the conditions and how the team management wants to think this through. And to all the folks joining us in the live chat, please keep the comments coming in. It's really, really, enjoyable to take your comments and just add on to our conversation as well. We've spoken at large about India's batting side of things, but let's look at the bowling side of things, which is again exciting in itself, right? We have India's pace. Let's talk about the pace bowling side of things first. You have Bumrah and Siraj, who are definitely going to be there for at least the first three tests. I hope injuries don't cause a lot of other problems. But you still have the likes of Prasidh Krishna. You have Akash Deep now. Harshit Rana has been included as well. I'll start with Hariprasad on this one about how he thinks the pace attack is shaping up, and it's giving you good positive signs. We're missing Shami, which is going to be a massive loss, but still, what are your thoughts on the pace attack?
It does look promising for sure. I think Bumrah and Siraj will be there to lead the pace attack, with probably Prasid being the third choice here. And I mean, it does look promising. I think I've mentioned a lot about the fact that Siraj has not been rested enough from Indian games. He's been playing series non-stop, and then we saw him miss the Champions Trophy, which was unfortunate, but I think he did miss out. And I think Siraj has gotten some rest, and I think he's here to lead the attack. He will be required to lead the attack when Bumrah does not play, because I think there has been some rumors going on that where Bumrah is going to play only 3 of the 5 tests. I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but that's the thing that's happening around at the moment. So in those cases, I think Siraj will have to step up. And you know what happened when he led the attack at Gaba 2021. Not saying that'll happen all the time, but then it does show that he can lead an attack and probably get the best out of his fellow bowlers. Prasad will be there as the third choice. I mean, he can hit the deck, like he said, but can go expensive too. Not gonna deny that, but I think it will be vital because we saw what Kyle Jemison did at the 2021 World Test Championship final. I mean, he swung the ball away from a lot of the batters and obviously got Kohli's wicket as well, if I'm not wrong. So while you can swing the ball while generating the natural bounce, I think that would be something that can go in India's favor and something that India has not done in a long time. So probably having Prasid there would enable that. So I would probably go in with the attack of Bumrah, Siraj, and Prasid to start off with, and probably rotate around the bowlers, like what Australia did in the 2019 Ashes series in England. If I'm not wrong, I think not. I think only one or two bowlers played all the five tests. I think it was Cummins and Hazelwood, and apart from that, Stark played only one game that series. So basically, I would probably rotate around the bowlers repeatedly, keep them fit and ready for any game that comes across, and yeah, probably just get those wins out there. So start off with Bumrah, Siraj, and Prasid, obviously, but rotate as the games progress.
And Naman, I'll also get your thoughts on how India's pace attack should look like. And you did mention that urge to, kind of include Kuldeep as well as the lone spinner, considering the conditions. But there's Jadeja too, right, who comes in with bank worth, of experience. So how does India's bowling shape up for you?
I never meant to say Kuldeep as the lone spinner because I wish Jadeja to play all the games. I would like to see whether in conditions where you would expect the ball to turn a bit more, you would expect a bit more seaming conditions than swinging. Although it is England, so that's probably unlikely. But wherever that's the case, I would like to have Kuldeep playing along with Jadeja in such a case. And then you pick your three best fast bowlers, giving no regard to how much of a batting they are giving to you, and that's how I would like to see it unfold. And when it comes to the pace bowling attack, for me to be honest, um, we talked about Prasid being the hit the deck bowler. He can generate a lot of seam movement over there. I would actually like to see how Arshdeep goes on in this series, and I would actually like to start with him in the first game itself. Let's see what he brings to the table in the first game. You are going to have Bumrah and Siraj play Arshdeep in that one as well. You would still have the two experienced fast bowlers if in case he doesn't have a very great start. With him playing, probably there's only a lot more to gain and a lot more to learn and understand how you can possibly go ahead in the series because he's probably been the only one in the pace attack who's yet to make his debut. If you unleash him in the very first game, the English batters probably wouldn't see it coming, and he's somebody who can really swing the ball. I mean, I think after Bhuvaneshwar Kumar swinging the ball for India in tests, I haven't seen any other bowler swing the ball that much. We've mostly had seam bowlers who swing a bit. Mohammad Siraj used to have an amazing outswinger at first, but over a period of time, his swing has also faded away. I believe Arshdeep can really bring that dimension to our bowling attack. And obviously, being a left arm bowler, he brings that different angle. And we know how right heavy the English batting unit is. Probably four or five out of the top seven are all right handers, except maybe a Ben Duckett and a Ben Stokes. I think even Jamie Smith. But yeah, we have four to five right handers in the top seven and top eight. And over there, just the variation of the angle itself can make things difficult for a batsman. If you are having three to four paces or bowling right arm over the wicket, one left arm seamer coming left arm over the wicket can possibly force you to make that mental adjustment, force you to see the ball coming from a different angle, and then probably look at ball like a Rory Burns would. sorry sorry for that in between, but yeah, I mean it probably plays a role. I haven't played it at that level that I could say it for confident with a lot of confidence, but we've had a very one-dimensional bowling attack in terms of the right arm left arm option. So I would love to see Arshdeep make his debut, especially because the way he's played in county as well, and he can also tonk a bit. Like if it comes to that, he can hold on to his bat, he can build a partnership, and he can tonk the ball if it's required too. So I would like to see him start swing the ball away, and then see how it goes. If it doesn't go well, then maybe after the first couple of games you can make some change. Anyway, you will have to rotate your bowlers, so you can take that call accordingly in a very smart manner. But all that I would like to say is, take this chance in a game where you have Bumrah and Siraj both playing together. Do not take this chance where one of them is being rotated. You rotate them by playing in somebody like an Akashdeep or a PK. But if you are unleashing Ashdeep, probably do it in the first game and see. Like it's probably another punt that we'll end up taking, just like giving a debut to Harshit Rana at the first game of the BGT. Mixed reactions to the way it turned out for us. And the other thing that I would like to mention here is, of course, there's an Akashdeep who brings a lot of control with him. PK brings that skiddy bounce with him. I It's a gut feeling, and would not shy away from saying a slight bias that I would like to see Ashdeep start. And yeah, basis the conditions, probably the fourth bowler, as say fifth Jadeja would probably be a constant. Have rotating, between a Shardul or a Kuldeep over there, because well, Shardul can be your number eight batting over there. Even Kuldeep is not would not be very bad at number. Obviously, it's not ideal, but if you want that given the conditions, probably slot in a Kuldeep at number eight. And if you're still a bit underconfident that probably the pace bowling can take a hit because of that, maybe make a left field call, and instead of the number six batter or any other batter who probably might not be going the best that you would want, slot an NKR and see how things go. That would really shuffle things around a lot. I hope it doesn't come to a situation where such a change is necessary, but it's a very left field call that can be explored if the situation demands.
I'd like to make a point actually. When Naman mentioned about Arshdeep starting, that reminded me of the 2018 tour. I think when Sam Curran was named the man of the tournament. That was, and about England, they usually do not play a lot of left arm pacers. I think Josh Hull is one that's played recently, but apart from that, left arm pacers has been a scarcity in terms of England bowling, and he made the difference actually. I think he was named the man of the tournament as well that series. So I think I do agree with Naman when he says probably start off with Arshdeep. That could be a left field choice, and it could work out well as well. So yeah.
Interesting times, definitely, because again, we haven't come to an exact consensus of how that Indian bowling attack should look like. There's just so many options, which is sometimes a good place to be in and see, where things take us. So far in our conversation, we've spoken so much about India. It would be very unfair if we don't look at the other team that we're playing against, which is England, right? So, Naman, I'll again start with you on this one about your thoughts on the England squad. Again, pretty much on predictable lines. Over to you.
Well, they've actually made our job easier by announcing the playing 11 already. So that really makes things simpler, and it is exactly on expected lines. Like the top seven pick themselves, there's not any debate to be had. Two of the bowlers really pick themselves in form of Chris Wokes and Shoaib Bashir. Then it probably comes down to the other two pacers that they'll end up rotating. For now, they've started off with Cars and Josh Tongue, and then as games progress, they can probably bring in an Overton. And over here, if you see, like, this is the attack that you haven't seen these names feature consistently at all. Except Vokes, I don't know. I think I read somewhere that among Hull, Tongue, Overton, they've played five tests among the three of them. So it has really been an untested bowling attack when it comes to the latest level. And of course, like Rishabh is highlighting, Mark Wood is a big miss, and not just Mark Wood. Mark Wood, Gus Atkinson, Jofra Archer. Three express quicks are missing from their lineup. And we are not even talking about the likes of Broad and Anderson at this point of time, who've given nightmares to Indians, Aussies, Kiwis, name it. So this has been, honestly, this series is probably more of a bowling transition for the English than a batting transition for India, because we've still had the likes of Gill, KL Rahul, Rishabh Pant around for a significant amount of time. For them, except Vokes, all of their paces are probably just starting off. Cars has had a few test matches here and there, but it's really going to be interesting to see how the bowling unit unleashes itself. So it's going to be a task, and that actually makes that would probably not give too many demons in the heads of our batters as well when they walk out to bat. They wouldn't have any baggage when it comes to facing these bowlers in the past. Our batters are new, their bowlers are new. It will be a fresh start for all of them over there. But yeah, they would dearly be missing those three bowlers that we just highlighted: Atkinson, Jofra, and Wood. Even if one of them were here right now, their attack would have looked very different. But of course, Chris Wokes really deserves a mention over here. Man has been playing so well, extremely well for them in all the opportunities that he's got. Still, he has not been able to find a consistent run in the team because most of the times you had Broad and Anderson playing consistently, and then you would obviously want an enforcer along with him in the form of Wood or an Archer, and then one of the all-rounders would probably sneak in the picture. Wokes, he can bat, he swings the ball amazingly well, he's got the control. I mean, watching Vokes bowl in those conditions really reminds me of the Bhuvneshwar Kumar from 2014. They are very similar in terms of the way they go about their game, the way the ball just releases out of their palm. It's a sight of beauty to watch. So hope to see him having a good series. Of course, being an Indian fan, probably I shouldn't be saying it, but yeah, he's a lad that I've been rooting for ever since I've been seeing him play. So hope to see that he goes well. And just a thought to ponder upon. We've seen the likes of Ollie Robinson coming into the England setup, and now even he's not in the picture. Having him around, Hari, if you can probably mention why he's not around. I haven't really followed that part. If he would have been around, probably this unit would have looked slightly better because we saw him bowl some Jaffas the last time we had told England.
Haven't really heard a lot about Ollie Robinson either of late, but I think Rishabh is spot on when he mentioned that Mark would be a huge miss in for England. Uh, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of the guy. But despite that, I would say he would be a huge miss because if you remember the Ashes last time, Australia won the first two tests, and then in the third test, I think in Headingley was when England introduced Mark Wood, and he made an impact immediately. He kept uh, troubling Khawaja and Manas after eventually getting the wicket of Khawaja with that ball. So I would say I think Mark would be a huge miss to this lineup. When it comes to, I think Atkinson also would be a miss, I would say. But Archer, I think he's been away from the red ball games for a long time, so don't know how he would perform. Not saying he wouldn't. I wouldn't say I wouldn't count him out, but he's been out of touch with red ball cricket for a while, and I think he's playing a game. I think for Sussex recently. I don't know if it's the second 11 or the first 11, but I think he's trying to make a return back to the red ball scene by probably playing a few games for Sussex here and there. But Mark Wood, yes, would be a huge miss for them only because of the sheer pace that he has and the impact and the ability to turn the game around. And I did not take him for a swinger of the ball. Like I haven't seen him swing a lot, but I think that game at Headingley, the swing that he was generating while bowling to Manas, I think would be a huge miss for them. So I'm like Naman said, I'm pretty excited to see how Vokes leads this lineup. It is kind of similar to how he led the bowling lineup back in the 2019 World Cup as well. I think a lot of them were new back then. I think Wood was not in the scene completely. Archer was just making his debut. Liam Plunkett was making a return back to the squad as well. And Vokes was the only constant over there leading this side. So and they went on to win the World Cup as well that year. So, having said that, I think it would be something similar for Chris Wokes as well when he comes out to play against India this time. I agree with Ujjwal. Josh Tung is an interesting prospect. I've been following him a lot. I think he played a couple of games last summer, if I'm not wrong, and both the games at Lords, and I think he played against Zimbabwe as well recently. So my eyes are on him. I'm pretty glad that he's made the playing 11 for in the first test. So would be exciting to see how they go about. And for the bowlers, I think Matt Potts is another player who's missed out as well. Uh, he's pretty much blown hot and cold. But apart from that, I think he's an interesting prospect as well, and would be a huge miss for sure. So yeah.
Also, it will be interesting to see how much Ben Stokes is ready to bowl. He's also one guy who has been a partnership breaker in this format. He'll just He does Shardul Thakur stuff for himself as well. Just getting in the game, getting wickets when the tide is going completely the other way. So it's going to be interesting how his fitness is, how much of a role can he play with the ball, because the way things look, they are playing with just three frontline pacers and the lone spinner, and Ben Stokes becomes the only other fourth pace option. And God forbid if any injury happens to one of the paces, then you would really have to look around to see who is gonna fill up that gap left. That will be interesting. And then, probably we can just go on talking about a bit of the batting lineup, which we haven't really discussed a lot. We really jumped off with bowling itself. That probably speaks that, yeah, we like to give some more credit to the bowlers, which who are really undercredited in this fancy world of batters. So, yeah, that's the bowling has really defined the Bazball aspect along with the aggressive bowling and fielding, of course. It's the batting. So, I think Joe Root, of course, it goes without saying that he's their spine. Their batting completely revolves around him. There have been times where he was a lone wolf batting out for them. Every time he would walk in at 5 for 2, 10 for 2, 20 for 2, and he would send the same sticker all the way again. Here we go again in the groups. Fortunate for him that over the past 2-3 years, moving on from the eras of Haseeb Hamid, Rory Burns, Tom Sibley, all those folks, then Alex Lees joined in between. So the opening conundrum has really stretched for a very long time for the English folks ever since Sir Alistair Cook retired. Now finally they've locked in on the combination of Crawley and Duckett, which has given them quite a bit of success across conditions. Both of them have they've picked their own occasions to find some form. Ollie Pope is probably a spin of a coin. You never know which side he's going to turn on the day. He can have the 190s performance that he had against us in Hyderabad, and he can also have the performances like he had in the rest of the series. So he's really somebody who is given a very long rope. He's been designated as a vice captain over there as well. So it's big time that he shows some consistent record in such a series. And having been the vice captain for a decent enough amount of time by now, it's probably time for him to show that yes, if the first wicket falls on the very first ball, I'm walking out and I'm going to ensure that for the next 30 overs I'm not getting out. I'm going to ensure that the ball is very old by the time Joe Root walks out and he can really start off on a good note. And then, of course, after Root comes Harry Brook. He's also been somebody who's had very consistent patches, and then he flattered to deceive. So, gonna be interesting how he navigates his way around in this series. And this I would just like to mention one matchup over here. I would really hope to see a lot of it happening in the series. Harry Brook versus Kuldeep Yadav. This is a matchup I'm looking forward to. And yeah, anytime it comes, even if I'm not watching the game, I'm just going to tune it in, even between work, just to see how that particular matchup plays out. And it's just going to be exciting, Kuldeep being the aggressive bowler, he's going to loop the ball, give him some flight, invite him to play. And then Brook, he'll probably do Brook things. So, going to be very interesting. Ben Stokes, of course, being the clutch guy, but off late, he has really not given the amount of performances that you would expect from him with the bat. Of course, injury issues have plagued him as well. But it's about time that, he really delivers the Headingley-like performance that we have grown to expect from him. So looking forward to that. But the real difference that I see in their lineup in this series in comparison to their previous series is in the form of Jamie Smith. He has really given this batting lineup some sort of an assurance, that impetus that they required coming lower down the order. Previously, like in the previous times, you would like, how many wicket keepers have they really played? We were just discussing on the group the other day. Like uh, there was a time when Matt Pryor used to feature very consistently. Then for a period of time, Johnny Bairstow did a decent role. Then Bairstow hit a slump, and then you had Butler keeping for them. Then you also tried Ben Fowkes, but you always saw him more of a keeper and less of a batter. Then in the times to come, there was James Bracey making his debut. Even Sam Billings made his debut. Now finally they've logged in on Jamie Smith over here, and he's really given some great returns. And he can bat. He is a proper batter. Whatever we have seen of him so far, whatever little that I have seen of him so far, and he's that one guy who will not let the bowlers have it easy. Even if England will be 100 for 5, the bowlers can't take it easy. They have to be on it to make sure that you've got to get this man out, because he can stitch those partnerships. Even if Joe Root has Jamie Smith at the other end at 80 for 5, they have the potential to stretch the score to 280 for 5. Both of them have it. So it's going to be really interesting how he plays a key role at number 7. The key differentiator in the 2018 series was Sam Curran. The way he got those little contributions, extended those leads, and made sure that we couldn't chase those targets. Probably Jamie will have to play a much bigger role than that, of course, because of the number at which he's batting. And let's see how it pans out over here. Ujjwal, yeah, talks about Sundar probably being the second spinner. Okay, talks might be there, but I believe solely from a combination perspective, I do not want that decision to be made because of Sundar's batting ability. Because if you are anyway going to bat him at number 8 or number 9, man, let's just rely on Kuldeep to do that much of a role. Of course, there can be situations. We saw how Reddy stitched that partnership at MCG and really took the game to a respectable place. But I would really want to go for the better bowler in the conditions against the opposition. And again, like I mentioned, them being right heavy, while Ashdeep will have that impact. Kuldeep, although his Chinaman will come into the right hander, but his wrong ones can really trouble them. And his iconic dismissal, the Babar Azam one, the amount of time he's gotten batters out like that, I would really like to see him getting root out like that once in the series. Even if it happens once, he would have justified his selection in the team for me. So that's again probably coming from a bit of bias from my end, to be very honest.
One point that I'd like to make, I think Rishabh asked about the fact that at what point do you guys see Jacob Bethel coming into the series? One might argue that if a batter fails to perform, he would come in. But my eyes would be on Shoaib Bashir, to be honest. A lot has been mentioned about how he's not been up to the mark of late. But if you remember the 2014 series, there was a spin problem for England back then, and they brought in Moeen Ali to play. And honestly, from the way I've been seeing Jacob Buttle play for England, his career has been very synonymous to how Moeen Ali has been playing for England as well. It's very similar. We know both Moeen and Jacob are top order batters, but they've been playing at number 6 or 7 for England of late. And although Jacob played at 3 against New Zealand and did make a mark, but even back in the days, in 2013, 2014, Moeen was known to be more of a batter than a bowler. But then the 2014 series against India came in, and he was the wrecker in chief, basically bowling his. And there wasn't any he was just a part-time bowler, I feel, at that time, with batting being more of his major skill. And with just normal off spins, I think he picked tons of wickets that series, and went on to be the primary spinner for England for many years to come, even to the fact that Ben Stokes had to call him back for the Ashes. So, I mean, maybe if Bashir does not have a good series, and they might go for a left field choice and probably play Jacob Bethel that way. I don't know. It's very unlikely from my eyes, but that could be a possibility as well as the games progress. So I'm not going to rule that out either. But yeah, maybe Jacob Bethel would come in that way as well.
Just on a lighter note, probably our batters, especially in Test cricket in recent times, have had a knack of making proper bowler out of part timers, especially a nod to the king himself.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I mean, our live chat too has been coming up with some really interesting questions and like observations too. Let's this one from Ujjwal. He goes on to say that to be honest, I like England backing a youngster in Shoaib Bashir. He has been impressive, goes those speeches every now and then, and can become big in future. After getting that sort of an experience. So let's hope the best for Shoaib Bashir because earlier I think someone just mentioned he's not going to fare that well in the series. Ruman obviously very cheekily adding that don't forget Root also has his fifers, so can never write the man off. And almost as we reach the end of our discussion as well, let's take a few questions that our fans or viewers had to ask us. So Sanju goes on to ask us 3 players from each side who we think will have a big impact in this series. I see Hariprasad has just dropped out there for a little while. So, Naman, I'll direct this one to you. Three players you think will have a big impact, and this is like sort of an early prediction you make, and we will hopefully probably revisit it at the end once all the five tests are done. So, yeah, let's hear your thoughts on this.
So, from India, of course, any series, any format, one name is always there. So, yeah, Jasprit is at the top of that list. Second, I'd like to say KL Rahul. I believe it is time. It has to be his time. He's the most experienced batter in our team at this point of time. He's really got to take the mantle on himself and just go on to dent out the new ball, and not just dent it out, score the runs as it gets old. Not to get those 20 of 70 odd. He can do it any day. It's about time that he plays the long innings. It's about time he plays the long innings like Murli Vijay once used to do for us. So he is one that I'm going to really look forward to seeing. And then, of course, it becomes interesting. At third, I mean, of course, we've discussed tons about Shubman, how he's going to progress, and a lot of focus is going to be on him, the way he's going to do. I really feel, given the situations that the team can find itself in, I feel Jadeja is going to be pretty crucial to it. Be it getting some runs low down the order, be it stitching some crucial partnerships with the lower order if it is required, and even with regards to bowling those quick spells, containing the runs if the pacers are leaking it, getting those important wickets when the pacers are not able to do it. So these three, I believe, are really gonna be important for us to play. And I mean, the others have to play around them across the three departments. Again, like, would love it if all and any of the youngsters go on to perform better than them. But I believe just because these guys have had the experience of playing in these conditions more than the others, just because these guys they are the senior most players. So looking forward to how these play. And now from England side, of course, Joe Root, definitely top of the list for them. I mean, these two names probably go without saying. So the three, we should probably be excluding these two from the three each and then name three others. But yeah, for now, let's just stick to the three that Sanju has asked us. Second for me would be Chris Wokes, like we had discussed about him at length as well. He's going to lead the attack. I mean, let's see how many games does he play, all five or three or four, depending on the fitness, depending on the context of the series. That's going to be very key. And the third name for England, I'll again go on to say Jamie Smith. I'm really excited to see how he goes, because we've seen one key highlight with India as well. Even in games where we are able to pick up three, four, five quick wickets, we often struggle to pick up the tail. That has been an issue that has plagued us through generations, barring a couple of series here and there. We've often struggled to clear out the tail, or the lower order, I should say, with all due respect. And over there, I believe somebody like a Jamie Smith will be a key player for them. So these are my three. Of course, the likes of Duckett, Crawley's, Stokes, they're going to do their baseball thing. But these three, I mean, always if you say a big impact, I do not see a big impact always in terms of the number of runs or the number of wickets you are getting, but in terms of the 15 to 30 minutes of play that can really impact decide the outcome of a game. I'm quoting somebody here: 15, 20 minutes or one session of bad play can really determine, or good play can really determine the outcome of the game, and hence the series. So that's how I see three each on these sides probably making a big impact.
And Hari Prasad, your picks, like three players from each side who will have that sort of an impact. And is it similar to Naman's list?
Very much similar, to be honest, but I'll just add probably one name from each side. From India, I am looking at Sai Sudarshan. I know I did mention the fact that I'd like to see him start, and only because of the fact that he's been high on confidence from the IPL, and I really see him have the temperament to probably take it to the tests as well and probably make a big impact, probably playing at number three from where I see him play. And from England, I would say Ben Duckett, obviously. He's that player who's having that intent tag, like we discussed in the groups a lot. But I mean, just the way that guy bats, he's not someone who hits big. He hits quick, but not big. I mean, he's not someone who's known to hit a lot of sixes. Even in the recently concluded T20 series, I think against West Indies, he wasn't hitting a lot of sixes there either, and he was only dealing in fours. something like you see Prithvi Shaw do for India in a lot of occasions. I mean, Ben Duckett is doing the same for England. I mean, and his starts would be really crucial. He's known to be playing with that 80, 90 strike rate that he always does in for England in the tests. So I think his wicket would be very crucial as the game starts, and getting him out for a cheap score is something that India would have to do. All eyes on that man, Jasprit Bumrah, to be honest. But yeah, these two would be my picks, apart from what Naman mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, interesting picks there. And the last question, guys, I promise, because in the live chat, I see a lot of them asking us this very particular question about the series prediction. Again, time for both of you to, get your early predictions in, and we can probably revisit it once the series is done, if we got it right or wrong. So let's mix this up and start with Hariprasad on this one about your series predictions, and then probably we can have Naman share his here.
I'd like to see how many draws are there in the series, because Bazball is such that they do not go for draws. They can accept wins and losses, but not draws for sure. That would probably anger them. But even so, I would probably see probably one draw in the game. So I'd say I think a 3-1 to England, to be honest, only because they are the home team. Despite the fact that both of them are in transition, in their strengths, basically. India, known for their batting over the years, are in transition with their batting. And England, known for their bowling over years with Anderson and Broad, are in transition with their bowling. So, only because of the fact that England are the home side, I would probably give a 3-1 edge towards them.
Well, I agree with the first part that, of course, the draws is going to be detrimental. We do not know the current English setup to go for draws. They would really want to enforce a result, so that will be a determining factor. With regards to the score line, like keeping draws into account and just parking one game aside as a draw because of the weather conditions, it might just rain and some of the other stuff can happen. We can probably play on an absolute highway on a given day. Joe Root can score a triple hundred and India can just go on to probably save the game for us. This is random things out here. But even with everything said and done, I see the same score but the other way around. I probably see India winning 3-1. Yeah, I do. I mean,
Hoping for
it's
that for sure. I would say that too. I would hope that.
it's
But yeah, I mean,
I just feel that when it comes down to it, their bowling attack can probably be put under pressure, while our batting is probably not the most experienced. I believe they would be coming in high in confidence. The kind of conversations that they would be having in the setup in the dressing room, they would be all about you are probably new to this particular arena. They are also new to this particular arena. Just go out, play your natural game, score many runs as you can. So in that case, I mean, I'm not bearish on this batting lineup of ours, to be honest. I see them having some good returns out there. Let's not forget Jaiswal. We haven't really spoken much about him. It's going to be a major test for him in these conditions as well. And he's been the consistent opener for us over the past 2 years, ever since the previous WTC cycle began. So I believe we have the batting to counter their bowling. And even with regards to our bowling, I feel we can really find a way to get the opposition batters out. Of course, it's going to be a Herculean task to do it, especially consistently over the 5 games, to be honest. But yeah, I do see it probably going 3-1 for India.
I'm hoping
A
that too
very
as an Indian fan, but just the fact that these England bowlers have been, it's home conditions for them, so they probably would ease into the conditions is what I'm thinking. So hence I go the other way with 3-1 to England on that front.
Of
I mean,
course.
interesting predictions there. And I think the moment Naman said his prediction was like a mic drop moment because man usually takes time to, explain and justify his answer. And he's like, yeah, just, 3-1. I really think this is what is happening. But even in the live chat, we have Ujjwal, adding on that considering it's a dry summer, I think it's going to be 2-all. This is proper script writing, okay? He goes on to say India wins Leeds, England comes back in Birmingham, England leads in Lords, Manchester turns out to be a draw, and India draws at Oval. He thinks
I just have
Birmingham
one
is
question.
probably, yeah.
I just have one question. I just, if I said anything offensive, I'm really sorry if it is Mr. Jay Shah and Ujjwal's name. Was the kind of script that he's mentioned over here.
I mean, if this eventually
It's
does end up
amazing.
happening, yeah, you heard it
Yeah,
first on our channel, guys. Ujjwal, you're like going to be a celebrity if this actually ends up happening. But he also goes on to add that I think Birmingham will be the closest match in the series. Either case, we are looking forward to some very riveting contests. So I hope all of them end up turning out to be, close matches and test matches for the ages. He also says that he likes how Test cricket is in a very interesting phase. Powers like Australia and India are going in transitions, and matches are becoming very, very interesting everywhere in the globe. South Africa's World Test Championship win is also big. I mean, I had an entire conversation with Hariprasad, on the audio podcast about this win. So, guys, please check that out if you haven't already. Small plug-in. But now let's finally, end this podcast with your thoughts on South Africa's WTC win. And I mean, did you follow the entire Test match and everything?
of course, I was around for the entire duration, and it was superb. I mean, we've been rooting for them to lift it ever since we got on that they've qualified. Of course, there will be all sort of comments and thoughts about the manner in which they qualified and the way they performed and everything. But on the day when it really mattered, they went on to win. And it's not like their qualification was solely basis their home record. They did play the significant number of away games as well. So, but on the day, the manner of cricket that they played under conditions, under pressure, Australia did put up a lead over there. It's not like they were without any sort of pressure. The way they had that collapse in the first innings from being in a good position and then batting in the second innings the way they did. After the very first innings, we remember that we ourselves had these conversations about Markram probably not opening and batting in the middle order because that really suits his style of game more. But he really proved that like he deserves probably that spot in the test setup and at the top itself. So it was an amazing game. But to be honest, like in the aftermath, I just feel that while Bavuma and Makram have really got all the credits that they have deserved, I still feel that Rabada is probably gone a bit under notice in with regards to what he did for them. In the very first innings, the way he bowled, in the very second innings, the way he came and bowled, geez, I mean, I'm sure it would have been a very close call between Rabada and Markram for the player of the match, but I mean, they both are equally deserving if it comes to that title to be said at the first place. And it was a very great moment for modern day cricket as we talk about it, because we've been talking about the relevance of the Test cricket format for all the nations except the big three, and having a team like South Africa who was in financial turmoil for the past 3 4 years until the SA20 began, them, sending a left second field 11 to New Zealand for a test tour with the SA20 going on because of scheduling clashes, and then going on to lift the mace. It's been quite a story for Test cricket in itself, and it just gives a very sweet message that, yeah, I mean, you probably, financially and economically, you might not see Test cricket as your most favorite format because of obvious reasons. I mean, money does matter in this play in this day and age as well. But if you just go on to give the format the amount of respect that it deserves, have the right set of people for the format in the picture, you may never know. You can go on to play the final, and on those 3 4 5 days, whoever plays the better cricket goes on to win. So it's been very lovely. Really glad. Will England ever qualify for the WTC final? I mean, not this time, I would say. Let's see what happens next. Again, like I made a bold prediction about a team not winning 3 months ago, and we saw how that turned out. So let's see how this one turns out up next. But yeah, coming back to WTC, may Test cricket prevail the way it has over the past 5 6 years. Really glad that WTC has come about, and it really makes things hold a lot of context given the bigger picture in sight, and the fact that it's happening every 2 years, not like a 3 year or a 4 year cycle. It is very repetitive. As of now, probably given the way things stand, 9 teams itself can be accommodated, and even there, there are talks about having 2 tiers for WTC. But I believe for now, the way it is, things look right. Teams should be playing that level of Test cricket for them to evolve, for them to improve. And we've seen the way South Africa themselves have improved. And yeah, Temba with the runs with the hamstring and everything was too good. So let's just hope things go on. And I have been speaking about it for the past 3 4 5 minutes, but that's how it happens when you talk about the format we love the most. So can go on talking about.
Naman, when you talk about KG being going under the radar, probably gotta tune into the audio podcast because I talk a lot about KG over there.
I did. Like definitely that's something you guys mentioned, but in the mainstream media, the way
That's true.
even that one particular ICC reel that was made, where Markram and Temba are the ones who are opening the case and taking the mace out of it. Would have really loved for KG being in that reel as well over there. I mean, it just puts things a lot into perspective of how you really look at a victory, and it coming from the ICC. I mean, would have really appreciated if he was there in the picture over there.
Fair enough.
Yeah, guys, I mean, valid points there. And I like how we digress from the India England series to, the WTC final, because Test cricket flourishing is a sign of great things, something we love to see. And I think there was just this one comment that I wanted to take to just end it, that, to be honest, this is the best chance for England for a World Test Championship final. Both India and Australia are in this transition sort of a phase. I think they both India and England, would want to get off on that right note, register a win. For England, there's a lot at stake. They're playing at home. They would want to, prove a point. For India, it's, a new era under Shubman Gill. So let's see how things go. And couldn't have asked for a better preview show, guys. And to all of our viewers who tuned in, thank you so much. I haven't seen this much activity in the live chat after like 1 hour. But it just goes to show how passionate you guys are. And we hope to see you through the rest of our series as well. So thank you so much, guys. And it officially does conclude our discussion. Again, just a quick plug-in. We will be doing live shows like this after every test match ends. So make sure to catch that stream and just get all chatty. We will make sure to take all of your comments. But that's all, guys. Good night. Let's sleep probably and give our throats some rest. But thank you so much, Naman and Hari. See you on the other side.
Thanks, Neha. Cheers.
Thank you, Nia. Thank you, Naman.